What is going on, YouTube fam? This your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For all the day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. In the inner city, one thing stands out all over America. It's people trying to survive day by day. We all know, just because you live in a city doesn't mean it's a bad area. But that's only a few small pockets. All over the world, from the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest to down south, when we discuss the struggles of surviving in the trenches, most people wouldn't even be able to imagine what goes on unless you've seen it or lived it for yourself. Poverty, generational curses, addiction, and if you are some of the few that came from a good family, never been in trouble, or didn't fall victim to the pressures of your environment, salute. You are a real life success story. But certain places have a certain energy and vibe. You know, even if you fly right, something still could happen because of the street politics. Guilty by association, wrong place at the wrong time. Being from a certain hood, it's a sad reality that takes many lives every day all over. Retaliation, drug wars, beef, that's the language of the streets, unfortunately. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we will be taking it to New Orleans, Louisiana, to discuss a situation of two men who lost their lives in the streets and a hitter who was charged with 4 bodies in a 2-year span. According to sources, back in 2018, Byron Jackson was 21 years old and grew up in the lower 9th Ward in the NO. While coming up, he played football and was real good at it. Got the nickname Big Baby because of his size and tried to stay out of trouble. Before graduating high school in 2015 and going to Southern University to study business. Things would take a turn when on April 8th, 2016, Byron and his sister were sitting in a car outside of a party on St. Claude Avenue near Lazardi Street when 2 men opened fire. The brother and sister were both hit. Byron 3 times in his lower back and his sister once in the face. Fortunately, they will both survive. But the young man stayed in the hospital for 3 months, lost his mobility, and was in a wheelchair. It took him almost 2 years to walk again, but Byron pulled through. Another young man, back in 2018, was 26-year-old Jamal Robinson. The youngest of 3 siblings and his mother's only son, he was known as the baby. He also grew up in the lower 9th Ward and stayed out of trouble, playing sports, and eventually went to college in California after Hurricane Katrina hit. Jamal would eventually move back home and continue his education, have a son, and got a good job as a patient escort at a health center. He never got in trouble, no record at all, and seemed to be a success story. After receiving his transportation worker credentials so he could get a better job working offshore. But things would turn tragic for both Byron and Jamal. On February 13th, 2018, both the young men were celebrating Mardi Gras at a get-together for family and friends in St. Claude Avenue. The 2 men knew each other from both growing up in the 9th Ward. Everyone was having a good time when Byron and Jamal got into a car with other friends to chop it up. But little did they know, they were being laid on. 2 men were in the cut, stalking the crowd. Allegedly, they were hired to hit a person named Bam, who sold smack in the area and was accused of taking out a rival's son earlier that year. About 8:15 p.m., while men, women, and children were on the block having fun, 2 men came through the cut with AKs and opened fire. In a panic, everyone fled, and the car Byron and Jamal were sitting in fled the scene to get help. While at a local gas station, everyone realized both Jamal and Byron were hit. along with 3 other men as well. Police and ambulance arrived to the scene. Family and friends were in shock. Unfortunately, Byron and Jamal both passed away, leaving everyone hurt. The alleged intended target, Bam, wasn't touched at all and got away. Byron, who had just learned how to walk again after being shot in the same area, it seemed like it was a case, a wrong place, a wrong time type of scenario. As an investigation started, people in the area started saying the name of a man who might have had something to do with the situation: Derek Wu Groves. Witnesses stated he was a local trapper who was known to be a known hitter, but everything was just hearsay. No evidence, no one identified Derek as being on the scene. It was all talk. As the quintuple shooting made it to news, more information and tips started coming in, painting that Derek knew Byron and Jamal. They all grew up together in the 9th Ward. Neighbors started telling both victims' families they heard that it wasn't meant for neither one of them, but Derek was still free. He would make a mistake and post a video on social media the same night of the shooting, rapping and bragging about doing hits, but it was nothing to link him to the situation. Until the feds started watching, an FBI agent was tasked into looking at Derek, as his name was popping up in 4 murders in the area. They were checking his social media daily, and as people were arrested on gun charges and drug charges, they would volunteer information for a lesser sentence. On July 24th, 2017, a man named Woodrow Smith was hit in the 3800 block of France Road. In September 2018, Derek's name would pop up again with the feds, but it would hit the fan when a man named Tyrone Francis was hit in the 1200 block of Delary Street on January 24th, 2019. As the feds were closing in, another name would pop up: Kendall Barnes, who according to witnesses was the second shooter with Derek the night Jamal and Byron were hit. Prosecutors built the case and indicted both men on murder charges. During interrogation, detectives confronted Derek with information, including a social media post of him rapping about doing hits hours after the Mardi Gras shooting, in which he later deleted, but the feds already recorded it. He stated it was an NBA YoungBoy song, and he was just rapping the lyrics. They even showed text messages from Kendall's girlfriend, begging him to take down the video with him and Derek rapping, stating, "I'm sick of you and him. Take it down, cause words mean a lot." Both Derek and Kendall claimed to be in the French quarters the night of the shooting. They stated there's no way they could have made it back to the 9 to do the hit. Detectives were pointing to gang-related activity and paid hits. They referred to the case of the 39ers, another New Orleans gang that went down, stating if you give us information like Gregory Stewart, aka Rabbit, a known hitter who had multiple bodies but was promised a deal if he testified on the gang, we can help you. But both men stuck to their story. As the case made it to trial, lawyers for the men claimed prosecutors were reaching. The only information they had was from convicts who wanted lesser time and social media. Derek would be hit with the other 2 murder charges as well as he awaited trial. It seemed all circumstantial, but enough for both men to be convicted of second-degree hit and attempts and sentenced to double life in prison. Rest in peace to everybody who lost their lives and was affected by this situation. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to the families. It seemed like for whatever reason, a war started in the 9th Ward. All these dudes knew each other, and in the streets, unfortunately, you are guilty by association. It always seemed like in situations like this, the intended target always gets away, leaving people who don't even know what's going on gone. Watch who you hang around. Make sure you know who's in your circle and what they got going on. Because if something goes down, the shooter's not going to say, "You and you, watch out, this who we looking for." Derek was accused of 4 hits in less than 18 months. He didn't even know the feds was watching, and the community wanted him gone because fed doesn't equal love. So remember, we got to succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Man, crazy story. I ain't gonna talk y'all head off. Y'all heard all the details in this situation Rest in peace to all the victims who lost their life. It seemed like some kind of situation happened in the Ninth Ward. They got everybody involved. It be like that, man. When you in certain environments, people be knowing people. You grew up with people. And then signals get crossed. Somebody do something to somebody. Now the whole hood go up. And it be casualties. You feel what I'm saying? It's casualties in war. That's the sad thing about it. Some of these dudes probably ain't even know what was going on. You know? But at the end of the day, that's how I go down, man. But leave it in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about this. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. Remember to keep it respectful. This is another episode of Hood Tales. This your boy Tony 2 times. I'm out.
What's up, fam? It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm back with another video. In this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to St. Petersburg, Florida, to discuss the tragedy of Sherry Lynn Howard, a renowned realtor and community advocate who lost her life at the hands of an unlikely suspect. But before we get into this video, welcome if you're new here to our channel. Please feel free to subscribe, click that notification bell so you never miss an upload. If you're rocking with the content, hit that like button. Share this video with everyone you know. Make sure you watch until the end to hear the full story. Just a reminder, everything in this video is alleged. All right, let's jump right into it. 54-year-old Sherry Lynn Howard was a St. Petersburg native and well known in her community and among community leaders. She was a well-known realtor and worked for Keller Williams up until March 2023. She was most recently an independent realtor according to her LinkedIn profile. Sherry held a mentorship role to councilmen, state representatives, and others. Sherry encouraged her mentees and friends alike to stay true to themselves and never turn their back on the people. Her impact on others was tremendous, to say the least. Not only was Sherry a mentor, businesswoman, and dear friend, she was also a devoted big sister. Sherry became a mother figure to her younger sister, Cherie Howard, after they lost their mother, Frances Howard, in 2002. Frances's two daughters were the only children listed as survivors in her obituary. Cherie Howard went on to become a doctor. At age 39, she is a licensed osteopathic physician in Florida, and she is the owner and CEO of a business called On the Go DO State Records Show. Sherry and Cherie live together in St. Petersburg, where their family has roots for at least a couple of generations. Cherie was also well known in the community. She strives to make a difference in the place where she grew up. Cherie believes in keeping the community together, so those who have a legacy there can build upon it instead of it being uprooted and disenfranchised for capital gain. She spoke about these things at a St. Petersburg community meeting back in July 2022. Cherie is also a member of the 2023 Class of Leadership St. Pete, a program of St. Petersburg Area Chamber of Commerce, according to the program's website. On the website, Cherie described herself as a healer and resilient, ambitious, and studious. She says, "I'm a board-certified family medicine physician and a certified health coach on a mission to empower individuals and ultimately my community through physical, mental, and spiritual wellness," according to the site. In a response to a question about the best piece of advice she ever received, she quoted her mom, "Never use the word can't. You can do anything that you set your mind to." It was important to both Cherie and Sherry to be a part of the change. Cherie was described by her and Sherry's older brother as being sweet as cotton candy. Sherry was known to be bubbly and happy-go-lucky. The bond between the sisters was admired by those who knew them. Sherry was described as the perfect example of the best big sister and what a big sister should be. A friend of Sherry's said everything she did revolved around her baby sister, Cherie. The sisters were very close, like twins. Cherie decided to move in with her sister to help her after Sherry learned she had heart problems, a family member told news outlets. But the picture-perfect sisterhood took a tragic turn. On Tuesday, April 11th, 2023, St. Petersburg police went to a home on the 600 block of Newton Avenue South shortly before 3:30 p.m. for reports of a deceased woman. When they entered the home, officers found a woman lying on the floor just inside the front door, lifeless. Police identified the woman as 54-year-old Sherry Lynn Howard. The home is the residence of Sherry and her sister Cherie. The 911 caller was identified as Sherry's sister, 39-year-old Cherie. According to the affidavit, Cherie told 911 dispatchers that she choked her sister, ending her life. Upon further investigation, Sherry appeared to have injuries consistent with strangulation. In an affidavit, it says Cherie choked her sister with her hands, inflicting mortal wounds. Investigators said no one else was present in the home at the time. An autopsy is still being conducted to determine Sherry's cause of death. Cherie was arrested and charged with a second-degree murder. The news of Sherry's tragic and sudden slaying stunned the community and those who loved her. And no one could believe that it was her baby sister, Cherie, that allegedly took her life. Although there is no known motive in the shocking crime, family members believe that mental illness played a crucial role in Cherie's state of mind. A family member claimed Cherie was maybe experiencing hallucinations prior to the murder. They claimed that Cherie had not been to sleep for at least 3 days before the crime and needed serious mental health intervention. The sister's older brother believes Cherie still needs help behind bars while waiting for her time in court. He doesn't believe she has come to terms with what she has done. It all seems so surreal to the family that they couldn't imagine either of them hurting the other. Reports say a day after Cherie's arrest, her bail was denied and she was appointed an attorney. She's been held at the Pinellas County Jail. The sheriff's office told media outlets that because of Cherie's status at the jail, she's still being processed, days after her initial arrest. Family members are still waiting for an update on Cherie's condition from either her appointed attorney or Cherie herself. In the meantime, the family is preparing a homegoing for her big sister Sherry. Dr. Cherie Howard is innocent until proven guilty. Wow, fam, this is such a sad story of two very successful sisters. Rest in peace to Sherry Lynn Howard. My condolences and prayers to her family and loved ones. I can't imagine what they must be going through, trying to process what happened and why. Both women were very close and both doing well in their respective fields. So what triggered this? According to Florida's Department of Health website, Cherie's license to practice medicine is still currently active at the time of this recording. According to the site, her primary practice address is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and it says she also is licensed to practice medicine in Minnesota. Cherie seemed to be well respected as a physician and business owner. It doesn't seem like anyone expected something like this to happen, especially between her and her older sister. Because of HIPAA laws, Cherie's mental health and medical status hasn't been released, so it's not clear yet if she had been diagnosed with mental illness in the past or if her issues are something that has come up more recently. Hopefully, there are more answers as the investigation continues. And the biggest question is why? What triggered this fatal outcome between two seemingly loving and tight-knit sisters? Fam, tell me your thoughts on this in the comments below. Again, my condolences to the family. My thoughts and prayers are with everyone impacted by this tragedy. Alright fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 Times, and I'm out. What's up, fam? It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 Times, and I'm back with another video. In this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be talking about the absolutely sad story of a Columbus, Georgia couple's toxic relationship that ended in tragedy. But before we get into this video, welcome if you're new here to our channel. Please feel free to subscribe, click that notification bell so you never miss an upload. If you're rocking with the content, hit that like button. Share this video with everyone you know. Make sure you watch until the end to hear the full story. Please be advised of the following. Alright, let's jump right into it. In July 2019, in Columbus, Georgia, 29-year-old Jerica Marie Spellman, originally from Jessup, Georgia, was a mother who was described as being full of life and love. Jerica had 7 children. Her youngest ranged from ages 2 to 20 days old. 2-year-old King Brandon Jackson was born on September 6, 2017. 8-month-old Kinsley Marie Jackson was born on November 1, 2018, and 20-day-old Christian Gabriella Jackson was born on June 27, 2019. Jerica shared her 3 youngest with her longtime boyfriend, 27-year-old Trevine Brandon Jackson. The couple had been together for several years. Some reports say 5 years. They lived together in Columbus. Jerica's 4 older children did not live with her at that time. Jerica always saw the good in people and was known in the community. She worked as a dancer at Carousel Lounge, a local nightclub in Columbus. She had an upbeat personality and liked to make people laugh. Everyone who knew Jerica said she was a wonderful mother and did everything for her children. Trevine was known as a hard worker, holding down several jobs to support his children. He was employed at a local car wash called Blue Fire Detail. Friends of Trevine described him as someone who grinds and puts taking care of his children above everything. There was no doubt that they were doting parents. Trevine was a Columbus native and came from a big, loving family. He had 2 brothers and 8 sisters and a host of nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Trevine had his shares of ups and downs after getting arrested back in June 2013 for Mary Jane possession and intent to distribute. He pleaded guilty in May 2014 and was sentenced to time served and 7 years probation. Trevine would end up violating the terms of his probation when he was arrested in May 2018 after police were called by Jerica to a home in the 500 block of Parr Road in Columbus. Reports say Jerica told police that Trevine had pushed her down, causing her to hit her face. Trevine admitted to police he had pushed her. The case was deferred to make a final verdict pending Trevine attending anger management classes. He also had to pay $140 in court costs. Records show both Jerica and Trevine had to attend hands-off classes for documented assaults on each other. While there was no resolution in the case, a warrant was eventually issued for Trevine's arrest for violating his probation. The couple's relationship definitely had volatile times. Jerica decided she no longer wanted to be in a relationship with Trevine. The couple would go through a custody battle among their 3 children. Jerica had custody of their 2 girls, Kinsley and Christian, while Trevine had custody of their son, King. Jerica made plans to move back to her hometown in Jessup, Georgia, and she was taking the girls with her. She also wanted to take King, but that is something they would both not see eye to eye on. On Wednesday, July 17th, 2019, Columbus police received a call from a woman frantically telling them to send police to a home off Cosita Road near 20th Avenue to check on the welfare of her family members. The woman told dispatch that her nephew, later identified as Trevine, showed up to her home, beat up and wounded with cuts and scratches all over him. She told dispatch that her son went to the house and they said that everybody inside was expired. At 8:53 p.m., when officers arrived at the 608 unit at the Elizabeth Canty Homes apartments, they made a gruesome discovery. The apartment didn't have much furnishings, just 2 pieces of sofa and a pallet of blankets. As officers got closer to the pallet, they saw 4 people laying there who appeared to have sustained fatal cut wounds. They immediately taped off the area and detectives were soon on the scene. The 4 individuals were identified as Jerica Spellman and her 3 young children, King, Kinsley, and Christian. It was apparent that they all had passed away from multiple deep cut wounds. The news of Jerica and her children's slaying shocked not only her family, but the community at large. The apartment was leased by Trevine, according to the Housing Authority of Columbus. He had been living in that unit since January 2019. Who could have done this to a mother and her children? The findings of the victims were the most brutal the coroner's office said they had ever seen in their career. Before police even released the name of their suspect, social media had already begun to make their assumptions and said that Trevine was the one responsible for slaying Jerica and the children. There was a lot of speculation and hearsay before all the facts had surfaced. But could the speculations have been right? Trevine was arrested without incident at a residence on Joy Road in Columbus a short time later. He was booked on violating his probation. After being interviewed by police without an attorney present, Trevine blurted out, "I did it, okay? I deleted all of them. I did it. I deleted them. I wasn't thinking clearly at the time. Wasn't myself. A lot was going through my head. I did it. I didn't want nobody having my kids." In Trevine's interrogation video, detectives ask him what happened that day and what led up to him taking Jerica and their children's lives. Trevine told detectives that he and Jerica were arguing about King. He said since Jerica was leaving to go back to her hometown and was taking their 2 girls, Jerica wanted to take King as well. She had concerns about who would take care of him when she was gone. Jerica did not really care for his family, Trevine told detectives. He tried to assure her, he said. He told her he was going to take care of King and he had it under control. But the argument got heated and escalated to violence. Trevine told detectives that he and Jerica went to retrieve weapons. Jerica went to the kitchen and grabbed 2 kitchen knives, and Trevine said he grabbed a weapon too. He told detectives Jerica cut him first in the neck, and then they fell and she wounded him again in the chest. He said that's when he began cutting the mother of his children repeatedly until she stopped moving. He said Jerica was still alive and breathing and was still able to talk. Trevine told detectives he then turned his attention to the children. He said he took King's life first, then Christian, and lastly Kinsley, wounding them 2 to 3 times in their upper bodies. Trevine told detectives during his interview that Jerica watched as he did what he did to their children. He told them Jerica said that she loved them and that she was sorry for everything she had done. Detectives said earlier in the day, on July 17, 2019, Trevine sent a text message to a group chat with his family members saying, "I love y'all." Police believed that text was sent around the time of the horrendous slayings. When detectives asked him why the children, he responded he didn't want anyone else disciplining his children. He told detectives he realized that their mother wasn't going to make it and that he was going to prison and he didn't want them to be with anyone else. After his confession, Trevine asked God to please forgive him. When officers were at the scene, they said they found what they believed was the weapon used in the horrific crime. When Trevine was arrested, he was incoherent due to downing bottles of over-the-counter pain relievers in an attempt to take his own life. As a result, he was questioned 7 hours after he was arrested and 14 hours after the horrendous slayings. In addition to his probation violation, Trevine was charged with 4 counts of murder. Police call the slayings acts of family violence, a legal designation in Georgia that allows for harsher penalties for violent crimes by partners or parents. Trevine was held at the Muskogee County Jail until his preliminary hearing. He was placed on special watch while in jail so he won't harm himself. On July 25th, 2019, Trevine was reportedly taken off of special watch and placed in an area of the jail designated for people charged with high-profile type of crimes. His preliminary hearing was held the following day. The judge ordered he be held without bond while he awaited trial. During the hearing, it was revealed that not only did Trevine confess to the slayings, but he also wrote letters to Jerica's family apologizing for what had happened to Jerica and the children. While he was in jail, waiting to be tried for the slayings, Trevine was sentenced to 10 years in prison for violating his probation. In December 2019, he was set to be transferred to prison to serve his 10-year sentence. On December 30th, 2019, at around 4:28 p.m. Trevine Brandon Jackson was found in his single inmate cell, hanging. Trevine was not someone officers could just open the cell for, so when assistants and nurses arrived and went inside, they took him down and called emergency medical services. They tried to resuscitate him before transporting him to Piedmont Hospital, where he was pronounced expired at 5:07 p.m. Deputies at the jail had reportedly seen Trevine behaving normally throughout the day in the areas he was assigned to. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation was called to investigate Trevine's passing. Family members from both sides were devastated at the outcome. Trevine's family had to find out the difficult news like everyone else from the news. They believe his passing could have been prevented or at least prolonged had he remained under supervision. Trevine had expressed tendencies to take his own life on more than one occasion in the past, according to detectives. The first time was in 2014 after his father passed away, and then twice on the day of the slayings. Both families saw Trevine's end coming near. They wish he could have stayed on special watch. Jerica's brother told reporters that he talked to Trevine about going to prison long term. He said Trevine told him he couldn't do it. Jerica's brother even asked Trevine to speak to young men about DV relationships and the consequences of it. Trevine skirted around the idea before vaguely agreeing to participate. Jerica's brother said by his tone and the way he said it, he knew Trevine was contemplating to end his own life. Jerica's brother feels like their family and Jerica's other children won't get the answers they deserve. Jerica's brother said that he believes his sister lost her life in self-defense. He believed Trevine was under the influence of a substance that caused him to carry out the horrific crime. He believes if Trevine was sober, he wouldn't have done it. Police did not release any evidence to support this claim. Trevine's end to his life closed the investigation. Detectives said they were working night and day preparing a case to present to a jury. But according to case reports, there would have never been a trial. Trevine told detectives he wanted a plea deal to expedite the case. He would plead guilty to spare the family the heartache and trauma of a trial. Before his passing, Trevine told detectives that if he could do July 17th, 2019 all over again, he would have walked away the moment the argument started. Wow, fam, this is an extremely sad story. My condolences to the families and everyone involved in this terrible tragedy. It's so incredibly heartbreaking what happened to Jerica and her children and their father Trevine. What Trevine said he did was monstrous. There's no denying that, but I feel for both sides. Despite any disagreements, I believe both families realize that no one wins in this life-altering circumstance. The losses are too great and significant and impacts both sides to their core. It's just so sad and unfortunate. The fact that the argument between Jerica and Trevine escalated to the point that it did shows that their relationship was extremely unhealthy and had been for some time. Whether anyone knew all the depths of it, they had a documented history of putting their hands on each other. I feel for the situation because children are involved, so there's no judgment on why they made the choices they made. And it's clear that one or both were trying to move on from having a romantic relationship. So the issue now trickles down to the care of the children. But how do you navigate co-parenting when the other party doesn't want to let go or come to a fair compromise for the sake of the children on both sides? I don't want to imagine the energy that had to be present in that home on July 17th, 2019. My heart truly goes out to everyone impacted by this horrible situation. Fam, tell us your thoughts on this tragedy in the comments below. All right, fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm out.
What's going on, YouTube, fam? This your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one, fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. Loyalty. That's a word that's thrown out there every day by a person's closest family and friends. But in a time where it's hard to find a solid person, who should we really expect to be loyal to us? A baby mother, homeboy, maybe even a brother or close family member. In the dream world, that would probably be the case. But we all have heard or saw situations where people someone might love the most cross them and that so-called loyalty word goes out the window. Most out here are focused on themselves, their happiness and journey in life, to the point everyone becomes expendable. And that's a choice that us as individuals can make without owing no one an explanation. Unless you got ties to a person on a different kind of level, like having a child by them or a best friend you call your brother or sister. A sense of trust, love, and respect is expected. But you might get your feelings hurt to believe just because you live by them principles and morals, everyone else around you will. And we become blinded by being loyal to people who don't feel the same way about you. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we will be taking it to Orlando, Florida to discuss a case of a man crossed by his homie and baby mother that ended tragically. Back in 2022, 39-year-old Melvin Ray Wilcox was a hard-working father of two, trying to live his life. Most explain Melvin as a natural-born salesman that could sell anything, funny and a helping person who often volunteered at events and gave back to his community. The man had gotten out of a relationship a while back with the mother of his child, 43-year-old LaShawn Triplett. The two had knew each other and had a relationship for nearly 15 years. A close friend of Melvin, who he considered a brother, was 42-year-old Johnny Wesley. As life was going on for Melvin, things seemed to be on the up and up. But on March 13th, that all changed. While at a trip at a Central Florida county fair, Melvin observed something that would make him furious. His child's mother, LaShawn, and his homie, Johnny, at the event together, looking like a couple. Clearly upset, the man approached the two, asking when all this started and what they had going on. They disclosed to Melvin that they had been in a relationship for almost a year now and was trying to keep it a secret. He was feeling betrayed by his child's mother and friend. Melvin and Johnny would exchange some words, but because of all the people, it didn't come to hands. Everyone went their separate ways. Heard about the encounter, Melvin called and told his mother about the whole situation. She calmed him down, and a few days would pass. On March 15th, Melvin told his mother he was going to see a friend. It was early in the morning when he hopped in his Honda Civic and headed out. But somewhere in the mix of that day, plans changed. About 2 a.m., Melvin pulled up to Elon Road in the Pine Hills area of Orlando to talk to his so-called homie Johnny at his house. And after that, no one saw Melvin. The next day, noticing her son didn't call, no one saw him or his vehicle, Melvin's mother was worried and called the friend he was supposed to go see that morning. The person told her he never arrived to the home. Later that day, she contacted Johnny, who stated, "Yes, ma'am. I saw Melvin late last night. He pulled up to talk about me and LaShawn." Johnny also stated the two men got into a physical altercation, but then Melvin decided to leave, but his car would not start. So they gave him a jump, and they haven't saw him since. Confused and not buying the story, Melvin's mother called local police to report her son's car and him missing. As police found out the situation between Melvin and Johnny, and he was the last person to see him, Johnny was soon considered a suspect, but with no information on Melvin, they couldn't do anything about it. Then on March 18th, detectives got a break when Melvin's car was spotted in a Walgreens parking lot in the area of Pine Hills Road and North Lane. As the search of the vehicle was being done, police opened the trunk and found Melvin, unfortunately already gone, from multiple gunshot wounds to his body and head. As detectives reached out to Melvin's mother to give her the news, she stated that night he disappeared, she was calling his phone multiple times, only to get the voicemail, and people said the last place they saw him was Elon Road at Johnny's house. Detectives got surveillance footage from the area that pointed straight to Johnny's home. After viewing almost 10 hours of footage, they noticed about 2 a.m. Melvin entered the home but never came back out. About 2 hours later, Johnny was seen walking out the front door trying to start Melvin's car with multiple people around who saw all of this. Eventually, with jumper cables, the vehicle started. About 1 hour later, the Honda was backed up through the front yard to the door of the home. All the lights in the house was turned off, and the man was seen driving the car away. About 1 hour after that, Johnny was seen on footage walking back to the house on feet and loading 2 large trash bags in his own whip, driving back off to return 15 minutes later and entering the home. With the video, detectives allege Melvin pulled up to the house, which had Johnny and LaShawn there that night. Sometime in the conversation, he was shot 3 times and loaded in the trunk of his own car and drove to the parking lot. Detectives went to search Johnny's home and found bullet holes, traces of blood, and 9mm shell casings. Both Johnny and LaShawn were arrested and charged with first-degree hit and given a no bail. Later in the case, a court date came where Melvin's family and friends flew in from all over. A plea deal was supposed to be on the table for Johnny and LaShawn, and they were supposed to accept it. But during the last minute, they both declined the offers, leaving Melvin's mother and family hurt, as they just wanted justice. She stated she really doesn't have any faith in the system, as Johnny admitted to her he did it, and the charges were still dropped from first degree to something else unknown at this time, and the trial was postponed. When asked did he hit his friend, Johnny stated no comment. As of now, both LaShawn and Johnny are awaiting trial and are innocent until proven otherwise. Rest in peace to Melvin. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to the family, his mother, and 2 kids, one in which he had by Miss LaShawn. This is a cutthroat situation. I know after a breakup, no one owes a person an explanation and moving on. But after 15 years, a child, and hop into a relationship with someone we both considered a friend, I can definitely see why Melvin felt crossed and betrayed. As far as Johnny and LaShawn, he took out his so-called homie allegedly and lied to his mother over a woman. And LaShawn allowed her baby father to walk into an ambush, in which I'm sure they all knew where this situation was going that night. They decided to all have a talk. A lot of people will say Melvin should have just left it alone. It was what it was and kept it pushing. I agree. But when that loyalty words come into play and friendship, some of us expect that from people who never really was real in the first place, putting us in a vulnerable situation. Watch who you call a friend. Some people are opportunists. just waiting for a chance to show their true colors. You should never be surprised, no matter who it is, when you find out the love wasn't real. And remember, we gotta succeed not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Man, crazy story. Rest in peace to Melvin. This whole situation, wow, So his baby mother and his homie got into a relationship. They was in a relationship like a year. They tried to keep it a secret from him. They probably knew he wasn't going to be feeling it. So when he ran into him, things allegedly got crazy, and it went from there. As far as that night, him going to the home, that's crazy. I don't think I would have made that move. But everybody think different, especially when emotions is involved and you feel crossed. But yeah, man, I ain't gonna talk y'all head off. Let me know what y'all think about this one in the comments. Remember to definitely be respectful. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. This is another episode of Hood Tales. It's all love, fam. This your boy Tony 2 times. I'm out.